Alright, welcome back to the next video in this series. We are going to get set up with some collisions so we can see our player get into action. So I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to double click anywhere on the layout and scroll down, select our sprite. We can put this anywhere. So for our collisions, they're not going to be seen. They're going to be solid color, and we are going to create them at a very specific size because we are going to use a lot of snapping with the grid inside of the layout panel. So let's set these to 32 by 32, and then with our origin tool selected, let's put it at the top left. That's number 7 on the keypad, or you can right click up here and do a quick assign. Okay, and make sure your bounding box, it covers the whole thing. Now we're just going to select some colors, and I'm going to select just a basic bright red, and I'm going to use my fill tool. I'm going to fill it in, and then we are done. I'm going to exit out of that. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to rename it collision _ floor. All right. So with that still selected, let's right click on it and come down here to clone object type, place it wherever, and then once it's placed, let's double click to go into it, and let's pick a nice bright yellow. Looks good to me. Now everything we did is already set up, so I'm going to fill that with yellow, and if you go to your origin point, you can see everything is where we set it up on the floor collision because we just cloned it. So I'm going to exit out of that. I'm going to come up here and rename this to collision _ wall. Okay. Now with that selected, let's right click, clone object type, place it, double click to go into it, get our fill tool again, and let's pick a nice green color. Okay, I'll just do it that way. Come up here and rename this collision _ jump through. All right, let's go ahead and right click on this and clone it again, and double click to go in it. This time I'm going to pick a nice little purple and fill it, exit out of that, come up here and call this collision _ death. I'm gonna get these just kind of set up next to each other. In fact, let's click anywhere on the layout and it'll bring up your layout properties. And if we go down here to grid size, make sure your grid size is 32 by 32, and then click or tick the snap to grid box. You can even show the grid if you want, and we might use that a little later on, but for now I'm going to leave my grid off. But make sure your snapped grid is on. And if we zoom in here, these will all snap to 32 by 32 from each other. So I'm just going to set those up like that, all nice and even. Those should be all our collisions. In fact, let's go over here to our object types folder, right click on it, add a subfolder, and let's call this, I'm just going to call mine meta. I need to get out of that habit, but I don't know what else to call it. So I'm going to highlight all of these collisions. I'm going to drag them into our meta folder. So now they have their own folder, and I'm going to leave these over here. This is just going to be my palette. Actually, we're going to have to drag these all the way to the top because we want our viewport to see what's going on. And I'm going to drag my player as well to the top. Okay, we want to be inside this little dotted line because that's where our camera is, and we haven't set up our game camera yet, so we're just going to use the default one. Now if you click on the floor, the red floor collision, and hold Control and then click and drag out a copy, and I'm going to just drag it down to the bottom, and I'm going to cover the bottom with it, or we can maybe just move it up a little. And then do the same thing with the yellow. Click and drag out a copy. I'm going to put it right there and drag it up. And then I'm going to click and drag a copy to the other side. And then we can, let's click and drag out a copy of the green. That's going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's good. And then we can do something like that. And then maybe something like that. Okay, we might have to come back in here and change this a little bit later, but I just wanted to get a little bit of some collision set up. All right, one thing I did not do yet. Let's, over here in our object types folder, our meta folder, let's select the collision floor object. And when you do that, it highlights all the instances of that object. But I want this selected over here in the folders. And let's go down to behaviors, edit the behavior, add a behavior, and give it a solid. And then let's do the same thing with the collision wall, our yellow one. Highlight it or select it, add a behavior, give it a solid as well. And then one last one, our jump through, the green one. Let's go to edit behaviors, add a new behavior, and then this first one under attributes is jump through. Let's select that one. And that should be good for right now. Select our player, go over to behaviors, add a behavior, and let's just give him the platform behavior. All right, we should have some basic functionality now. Let's set up some parameters here for our platform. Let's change our max speed to 200. Our acceleration, deceleration can stay at 1500. Let's put our jump strength at 585. Our gravity at 1500, max fall speed 1000. All right, I think I'm going to keep that. I can put our player right there, and I'm going to go ahead and play this. So there's our guy. He's on a loop animation, and if I move left and right with the arrow keys, we're on our default controls, and then I can jump. And he's hitting the roof. We'll have to change that. And he can hit the walls. They're solid. They're reacting to him being having a platform behavior. And then here's our jump through. And that works quite well. All right. So it looks like everything's working pretty good so far. Okay, that should get us started with the collisions. We will make a lot more sense of this in the next video when we get our player's controls set up. So I will see you in the next video, and don't forget to save.